What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Massive blowout of information for Pokemon Sword and Shield coming to us from Game Informer, made the rounds. There's a lot of stuff to go over with this. I know there's still the National Dex controversy, but looking at the game itself, it looks like it's gonna be pretty big. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and we'll see what happens going forward after it comes out when it comes to the rest of the Pokemon that I guess they'll be adding in. We'll see about all of that. Also, Ubisoft is well, they're being Ubisoft, they're really pushing monetization in-game beyond the initial purchase price, and it seems like Ghost Recon is the latest example of them doing that, and PlayStation's pushing streaming heavily right now with a drop in price for PlayStation Now and some new games you might be surprised to hear being added. As always, guys, enjoy these videos, make sure the like button, it does help out, and get subscribed so you can stay up to date on all the gaming news going on in the gaming world. We're actually going to start with that update that we talked about yesterday, 9.0.1 for the Switch, that didn't really appear to do a lot, right? It made the system more stable at this point, and a few other little things to help out with the Switch Lite when you're setting it up, but there was one other thing that people noticed that it seemed to take out of the Switch, and that has to do with, well, when you put your Switch Joy-Con controllers on, usually you get some kind of animation on either side, depending on which side you put the Joy-Con on, and it will actually be colored differently depending on the Joy-Con that you're putting on there. So if it's like the neon red Joy-Con, it'll have that color. If it's like the yellow, it'll have that color. But not anymore. It seems that they took that out. It's weird. I don't know if it was an accidental thing or it was on purpose, but it was a cool little touch, and now it's not there anymore. I don't really know why. I don't really know what the point of it was. I mean, the point of it being there was a small detail, but the point of taking it out, I don't know. I feel like it might have just been an accident. Maybe it'll go back in next update, because this was already really, really small, and it's an odd thing to be like, well, we cannot have the different colors show up on the sides when you put the Joy-Cons in. I don't know, very strange, but apparently it's not there anymore. We also found out a bunch of Game Pass games that are gonna be coming to the Xbox One this month, and some of them look pretty good, actually. I'll say that. Let's take a look here. Major Nelson put this up on his website, majornelson.com, and it shows a very nice picture of some good ones. Nice mix, I would say. We have Dishonored 2, World War Z, which is still fairly new, but people really like that game. Panzer Dragoon Orta from the original Xbox, pretty cool. Felix the Reaper, and then Ukulele, which could probably use a bit of a push, I think, just to help it at all. I mean, they have their side-scroller coming out soon, and we also have dates for all of these games. Dishonored 2, which is Xbox One Enhanced, will be showing up October 3rd. October 10th, we'll have World War Z and Ukulele. October 17th, we have Fallout New Vegas, which is a backwards compatibility title. Felix the Reaper, which is a day one premiere, is that same day, as well as Panzer Dragoon Orta. So overall, that's pretty good to have those games show up there. Not bad. I like the addition of Dishonored 2. It's a game that some people probably missed. It was a pretty good game overall, I would say. And then, of course, World War Z, which is a game I have not checked out yet that I would like to, is just going to be on Game Pass this month. So I'll definitely be checking that one out. And if you missed Ukulele completely, that's being added. Why not try it out, see if you enjoy kind of a collectathon like that in 2019. Also, we had one other person leave Sony. This news broke last night, and it's expected, it's planned. Gamatsu even had the article running, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, that seems about right, because this is actually someone retiring, as you're seeing here. This is the Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Asia president Atsushi Morita is retiring. Not surprising, this seems to have been planned. It was pretty much announced October 1st, which is the start of the second half of the fiscal year for most Japanese companies. So all in all, looking at it, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the same thing as a Sean Layden situation. This was actually announced straight up by Sony. Again, all of it seems to be pre-planned. The thing about Sean Layden that's really bugging people and doesn't really line up is it doesn't seem like it was as planned as this. This has like a full announcement, press release, all that stuff seems to be in order. The Sean Layden thing seems to only have been announced at this time on Twitter. Again, weird. No actual statement that I've seen to the press from Sony at this time. I thought we would have had something yesterday. Nothing. So odd situation. There have been some rumblings for the Sean Layden situation as being this weird power struggle behind the scenes, but I'll wait to see if we can get more sources on this, as right now we only have one third-party source that is really talking about that. So we'll see going forward with the Sean Layden situation, probably throughout the week. I have a feeling some stories are brewing around that. And guys, some of the quickies out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with Pokemon Sword and Shield right away. That has been under controversy when it comes to the National Dex, where some Pokemon just won't be in this version of the game. And it sounds like, according to Game Freak and the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, it was just pretty much a joint decision. All three of them came together, as all three of them have some say in this game, and they all determined that at this time, to get it out, I guess in time is what it seems to be, or implement some of the features they're trying to do, they had to decide that they just couldn't put all the Pokemon in this Sword and Shield. But the thing is, they did say that they will be added going forward into other iterations as they explore other regions and everything. So it sounds like moving to home consoles, at least according to them, kind of affected what they wanted to do, whether it's, okay, we want to add all these extra features, or do we want to add all the other Pokemon? Seems like they leaned into the features side, so that's where we are now. I know the controversy will continue, but that's at least what they're saying currently. So let's take a look with the National Dex controversy aside for a second at what these games are going to be, because we got a ton of information, as it looks like the Game Informer, I guess, Game of the Month that'll be a part of their covers. They're going to have 3 different covers, by the way, is Pokemon Sword and Shield. They showed a couple of different covers, as they have 3 of them. 2 of them are like wraparound covers, where if you lay the magazine, spread it open, lay it flat, it'll basically be one big picture. The other one looks to be 2 pictures, but they look really, really cool, actually. So good news there. I guess if you're a Pokemon collector, you'll probably be grabbing, I guess, all 3 of them. You'll have to go to your local GameStop or something to see if you can grab them all. Otherwise, you'll be sent one, I assume, randomly in the mail, as they've done this before with covers, but pretty cool there for collectors. A lot of information was put out there. Now, Sarah B managed to get a nice roundup of all the information, as Game Informer put out article after article after article. Tons of interviews, a lot of info coming out pretty much not just before, but like, a few months before now at this point, right? Like a month and a half before the games come out. So let's go over some of the stuff that we've learned. One, autosaving, that is going to be optional. It is not a straight up thing. It's not like, oh, autosave is in completely, you can't turn it on and off. You can turn it off if you'd like to just manual save, but autosave is a nice addition, I think, for me anyway, just in case I forget to save. And then they also are going to have just straight up experience share from the start. So every Pokemon in your party will pretty much gain experience as you go through, which, again, something I prefer, as generally we work up to the experience share in the games from what I remember, and then we would immediately just use it all the time, because it would, of course, help grow our parties. I'm not sure. People have to let me know if anyone really enjoyed having to change Pokemon out. You throw them out, you bring them back, you let someone get hit. Yeah, again, I haven't been into the Pokemon series as much recently. I'm looking to get back into it with Sword and Shield, which is pretty neat. I'm excited to check that out, but let me know about the experience share, because I saw that and I said, well, that seems like a good thing, but I saw some people say, yeah, I don't really like that as much. Let me know. They also said that HMs will not be returning in this game, which some people liked that there were no HMs, so that's good. They're not coming back, and they're apparently going to be 18. That's right, 18 gyms in the game, with different gyms being in the major league and different in the minor league between different game versions. We kind of heard that there would be differences between gyms in the 2 different versions of the game, of course, Sword and Shield. And it looks like they're going to have a major league and a minor league. It was talked about that you may have a ghost type gym that's in the major league in one, and then maybe a fighting gym that's a major league in the other, and they might switch around. It's unsure, I guess, if all of them are going to be something you will go through and fight and everything. 18 gyms sounds like quite a bit there. I'm liking that, at least. And maybe it's going to be a longer, I guess, playthrough for the initial playthrough and everything. I know, again, people were concerned that, oh, there's not going to be all the Pokemon in there, so it might be very difficult to get through. I mean, you have a regional Dex, right? And then you have a National Dex, so we'll have Pokemon just in that region, and then you open it up and you can trade Pokemon in. They do talk about adding more going forward into the other games, and then they do talk about Pokemon Home, but we had like Pokebank before, I believe, so like it's odd that they just don't have them transfer in. That's the whole thing around the National Dex right now. But I have to say, looking at what they've talked about here and all of the different things they are going over, it does sound like this is going to be a larger game. I don't know if we'll have any other direct ahead of the release, although they are hinting at more information still to come, so we'll see, but at least they're trying to explain why all the Pokemon are not there, and it's very difficult for them, I think, at this point to really get through. I mean, there's even news about how many people are working on this, and most of them are marketing and localizing it because it is a large like large job to get all of this stuff localized and translated for all different regions, like 1,000 people marketing, localizing, developing, creating. It is a lot of stuff going on. So we'll see when the game comes out. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it now. The National Dex will exist. The National Dex controversy will exist. I don't know if National Dex will exist anytime soon, but the controversy will exist. But I do want to see the game really let it come out, and then we'll look at it. I do think it's important to let developers, creators, and companies know what you want, but let's see what this game is exactly, and then we can go back and say, well, we need to have the National Dex near because you're missing all this stuff in the game, and the game wasn't worth it when it came out compared to the previous ones with all of the Pokemon. So that's kind of where I am. Let's get to the finish line here with the game, and then kind of look back on it, reflect, and see where we are with that National Dex and adding more Pokemon to the game. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Now. Now, here's the thing about PlayStation Now. When it first came out, it wasn't very good. It just wasn't. It was a streaming service that was very laggy, and unfortunately the picture quality was pretty bad. It was the whole thing. It wasn't great. But it has evolved over time, and the only issue I've really had with it is that it's kind of expensive. It was like $25 or something for a month, or it was a whole thing. It wasn't great. And then at one point they did lower it to $100 per year, and now they've lowered it further. It's about $60 per year or $10 per month is what they've lowered it to. So I guess if you know you're going to play it for the entire year, or you're going to take advantage of it, get the yearly subscription model. And they're going to be adding bigger games. And if you didn't already know this, most people look at this as just a streaming service. You can actually download PS4 and PS2 games. It's just the PS3 games you have to stream. You can also subscribe to this service if you're on PC and you don't mind streaming the games, and you can just play them there. Your PC isn't that good. Like, as long as you can play like a YouTube video at 1080p, you should be able to, at that point, just play PlayStation Now, and you'll be able to play some pretty big games now. See, they're going to be adding and rotating in bigger games going forward for basically windows of a couple months. For example, from now until January, you'll be able to play games like God of War. Yeah, God of War, Uncharted 4, GTA 5, and then Infamous Second Son are all going to be a part of these selects, essentially, these premium games that they add in. And seeing God of War already being added, I mean, God of War sold well, right? It's a great game. I mean, it sold, 10 million copies or so. It's a phenomenal game. Most people should play it, but it is already being added to PlayStation Now, and I think that's a good thing, right? To have it there. And I say already because a lot of the games on PlayStation Now, if you've used it, they're kind of older games. They are. They're not like brand new games or anything. Even within like a year or 2 years of their release, it's pretty much legacy stuff that's been out for a while. Like, it was a big deal when they added Red Dead Redemption 1 to it. That's the thing. So PS2 games are pretty cool to see, though. That was neat. If we're gonna go legacy, let's go like all the way legacy. Let's go back to like previous generations and just add them there. So I like that downloading was added because it eliminates, of course, any of the lag or picture quality you may have with streaming. And now the price is really, really good. I'll be curious if Microsoft does anything about that, although with all the specials they run, they already kind of give Game Pass away almost for free at this point anyway, and they do add new releases day and date. It does seem like Sony is really noticing the PlayStation Now could be competing against Stadia and anything that we see from Microsoft going forward with more of their xCloud stuff. So why not? Make it more competitive, and let's get some competition here, and let's get some better stuff even with streaming. Next up, let's talk about Ubisoft. Ubisoft and their monetization in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I kind of figured this was going to happen, right? If you remember, we had a big thing about Assassin's Creed Odyssey and their time savers with their experience buff that you would buy for, $10, and then you would get more experience. And it was really weird to me because I thought, well, why wasn't that just part of the game? It's almost like they made it grindy and then added a buff on purpose. And most of us kind of figured that out, I think, but it was still there. And a lot of people, I think, bought it because they went crazy with Ghost Recon. This is something else. Now, people did take to Reddit, as you're seeing this post here, and really went after it, really broke it down because they sold the Ultimate Edition, which is like $100, gets you access early. Basically, they have a release date in mind, they push it back about 3 days, and then they sell an Ultimate Edition to get to that original release date. I'm not kidding. That's basically what's happening here. But this post goes over everything because it was not previously viewable during the beta, and it does not look good. It looks really, really bad. This is actually up, like I said, over on Reddit by Blink8704, describing the monetization, and it really apparently just angering them, which makes sense because some of the stuff is only purchasable with ghost coins or premium currency, and they do take several pictures. I mean, the store is insane. Like, there's so much stuff to it. And yes, time savers. There's an entire time savers section. Do you know why? Because you can buy outright skill points. Yeah. You could pay to not play the game. This is a weird thing, right? You could pay to not play the game. So think about it this way. You spend $100 on the game. There's a time savers thing. You could spend money to then not play your $100 game. Well, basically play through and progress. See, previously, of course, we would have games that we would progress through, our characters would get stronger, and we'd feel like we're actually moving along in the game and becoming stronger, rather than swipe the credit card and all of a sudden, bam, here's skill points. It's such a weird situation nowadays in 2019 and soon to be 2020 in games. Games as a service has done some odd things to the gaming world, and I'm glad Ubisoft is getting called for this, because this is something else. This is really pushing just the envelope in general. We had Battlefront 2. EA had to learn. Ubisoft might have to learn here. Oh, also, let me know how you pronounce Ubisoft or Ubisoft. I change between them quite a bit just to keep people on their toes. And our last bit of news, I kind of want to just quickly talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, of course, it's going to PC. It's going to be ported to the Xbox and everything, but the PC is the main focus right now. And this is a long line of games. This has been around for a while. The series, I remember we had it on Windows XP at one point, and it was called Flight Simulator XP and all this. It's been around for a long time. But to see what they've been able to accomplish with this series is pretty amazing. Specifically, being able to procedurally generate the world below you, where they're going to use the cloud to do that, and kind of in accordance with what Bing Maps and just in general information just about the world. Is such an interesting concept, and it is a cool idea to use the cloud. We actually saw several different articles go up about how you will be able to fly over your house because it will generate it from different maps stored online. People have actually said in different preview programs that they were able to see restaurants that they had visited the day before. That's where we are. It's such an interesting thing. Visually, it already looks amazing, right? Like, I saw the previews for it and I said, wow, that looks real. Like, that looks just completely realistic. And for people who like their flight simulators, they're gonna get a kick out of this. And the idea that you can look on the map, figure out where you live right now, where you're playing that game, and you could fly over your house and say, oh, there, that's where I live. It's such an interesting thing. Or visit, even at that point, you could technically visit locations on the map that you maybe wanted to check out at some point in time. You could fly past it. Such a cool idea to see that. And that's an instance of the cloud that I like. Crackdown 3, Flight Simulator? Yeah, okay, cool. And we'll finish up the comment of the day. As you're seeing here, this one is from Alien Moon saying, just out of random, what are your thoughts on next gen? Do you think ray tracing is amazing or just a gimmick? Will the game discs utilize UHD Blu-ray discs for next gen? I do think they're gonna have to use a larger storage medium. Now, Blu-ray, they do have access to the ultra high def Blu-rays. That's they do a triple layer, I believe, for 100 gigabytes. That will probably get them through next generation. However, we'll still probably have patches, and they may even have some high definition texture packages, because we are seeing some games already eclipse 100 gigabytes, but I don't know if they want to go past UHD right now, because that already is kind of expensive. If you look up movies that are UHD, that are on UHD discs, they're pretty expensive. And here's the thing, the PS4 base doesn't support that. The Xbox One S and the X does. The original Xbox One does not, so they cannot come into play now because you have to support everything. I could see them coming into play next generation though. But as for ray tracing, I think ray tracing is really, really neat, or even path tracing in some cases. I think it's really, really cool, but I need to see more instances of it. And that's kind of the thing I'm looking forward to next generation, is to see how they will incorporate ray tracing beyond just the idea of lights look really, really cool around you. Are there some other things, some cool little ideas that some of the developers are playing around with right now in the background? But I am looking forward to next generation. To be honest, I think I'm getting to that point where I'm just ready for new hardware from Sony and Microsoft that's not just beefed up Xbox One and PlayStation 4 that's still using the terrible CPU and everything. I think I'm just ready for something new, and I'm excited to see what the Xbox Scarlet and the PS5 have for us next year. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's the Pokemon Sword and Shield, all the information that came out from Game Informer. Seems like quite a bit of stuff in this game, but I am curious if people are still really, really behind the National Dex stuff, or if you've kind of seen some of this info and you said, okay, well, let's see what happens when it comes out. Also, what about Ghost Recon and Ubisoft's stance on their microtransactions that has when what appears to be a large catalog of things to buy, including those time savers. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.